Hey everyone, it's Lisa Mears here. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, I'll be showing you the Stamps of Life Club products for September of 2023, and I'll also be making cards with these products. And this month, it's all about Christmas. So if you haven't gotten started on your Christmas cards yet, you will be able to with the products this month. So this month's stamp and die set is called Happy Santa to Stamp. And here's an inspiration card that will show you some sample cards that you can make with the stamp and die set. So here's a look at the stamp set. You get this Santa Claus holding his sack. There's also a Christmas tree that's decorated. There's two presents and several sentiments that say sending Christmas cheer your way, joy to the world. May your Christmas be wrapped in love and sprinkled with joy. Wishing you a magical and Merry Christmas, ho ho ho, and wishing you joy. If you're a member of the Stamp Club, you'll receive the stamp set, and if you're a member of the Die Hard Club, you'll receive both the stamp set and the dies. So let's go ahead and take a look at the card kit. I love this club so much because you get a box filled with lots of products each month to make several cards. And this month's card kit is called Christmas Cheer. Here's a look at the inspiration card with some sample cards that you can make with this kit. And with every card kit, you get a pack of A2 size envelopes for A2 size cards that measure 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. There's also a large plastic storage envelope with each card kit that will hold your card kit contents, and it's also large enough to hold 8.5 by 11 size cardstock. The cardstock colors for this month are cranberry, strawberry, green apple, kiwi, blueberry, blue jay, cloud, ginger snap, and you get 4 sheets of the powdered sugar, which is the white cardstock. And here's a look at the pattern paper pad. Again, this is called Christmas Cheer, so the first sheet has a repeating pattern of the words Christmas Cheer. So with this pattern paper pad, there are several sheets that you can use the coordinating dies to die cut the images out of the pattern paper. So here's a sheet with the 3 Christmas trees that you can use the shadow die to die cut those trees. And then there's also the presents that you can use the dies to cut those out as well. So here's some more fun patterns. There's also a page of the Christmas trees. That's so much fun. Here's a solid red. And then here's another page that you can use your dies. So this Santa image is the same as the stamp that you get in this Stamp and Die Hard Club. So you can use the shadow die to die cut that Santa. And the nice thing is that these images in the pattern paper, they're already colored for you, so you don't have to do any coloring, and they make for such quick and easy cards. Here's some more Santas. Now that's a smaller Santa, and if you wanted to use that on your cards, you could just use your scissors and fussy cut those out. Same thing with the presents. Here's a solid green and some more of the Christmas cheer words in all of the different colors. Here's a fun blue design, and here's some smaller Christmas trees, some more Santas. We also have some polka dots, so some large polka dots in the colors of the cardstock sheets. And then here's another Santa page with some presents, a couple different other images, but you would need the more Santa to stamp dies to die cut those, which is an additional purchase. So some more presents. There's a solid gray and some more of the Christmas cheer, and then we repeat the patterns. In addition, you also get a miniature stamp set with another Christmas tree, a present, and some more sentiments, and there are also coordinating dies to cut these out. There's also a sheet of sticker sentiments that say Merry, Joy, Noel, Season's Greetings, and Happy Holidays. And there's another sheet of stickers with lots of Christmas trees and presents. There's a sheet of puffy stickers that have some Santas, presents, and stars. And there is a word die that says Christmas cheer, and those dies are actually separate words. So if you just wanted to use the word Christmas or the word cheer on a card, you can. And you can see that it's the same font as that pattern paper. There's also some red enamel dots. These red enamel dots have white polka dots on them. And then last but certainly not least is some green ribbon. So that's everything that's included in the Stamps of Life card kit for the month of September. And if you're interested in joining the club or even upgrading your membership, I will have links in the description box of this YouTube video, as well as on my blog at lisamirsdesigns.com. So if you're interested in joining the club, I always appreciate when you use my links because it does help support me. And also remember that by using my link, you'll also get 500 bonus club points that you can spend in the Stamps of Life store. So I'm going to go ahead and make some cards using the club products for this month. So stay tuned for my design process, and I also want to remind you that I will have up-close pictures of all of my cards over on my blog, as well as card measurements and a list of any additional supplies that I may use on my cards will be there as well. So starting out with card 1, I have 3 pieces of cardstock. The cranberry cardstock, which is the darker red, that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The polka dot one is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then I have a piece of the white cardstock that I cut down so that it's 4 1/2 inches across, and I just cut a little hillside out of that paper. That way I have this little snowy border at the bottom of the pattern paper. And if you have a hillside border die that you wanted to use instead of cutting it out yourself, you can do that as well. So here I'm just setting up my little scene with the Christmas tree in the center, the presents, and Santa Claus, and I'm seeing which sentiment is going to fit at the bottom. I am going to use 2 sentiments here. One says wishing you a magical and then the second sentiment says Merry Christmas, and that will go at the bottom. So I'm just positioning them where I want them. Next, I'm going to remove all of those die cut pieces and then just bring that snowy border with the stamp over to my Misti and stamp out those sentiments. I'm just using some black ink here. And now that I have my sentiments stamped, now I can go ahead and put together this card. So I'm going to start by gluing down the snowy border to the bottom of the polka dot pattern paper. And then I'm going to add the Christmas tree with Santa Claus and the presents. Position them where I want them, and then I'll glue everything down, starting with the Christmas tree because that's the die cut that's in the back. And then I'll add Santa Claus, and then I'll glue down all 3 of the presents. Once everything is glued down, I will add this layer to the piece of red cardstock. So a little bit of that red will be peeking out on all 4 sides, and then I'll take that entire layer and add it to the A2 size card base. And here is my completed card. So moving on to card 2, I have 2 sheets of pattern paper. The red is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. The Christmas tree I cut to 4 by 5, but you can always cut it to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, so it's the same size as the red pattern paper. The red pattern paper is going to go on top of the Christmas tree paper, and I'm going to cut a circle out of the red paper so that you can see the Christmas trees through that circle. So you want a circle large enough to fit the Santa die cut inside, and the circle that I'm using is a 3 1/4 inch circle die. So make sure you center that circle at the top of the red pattern paper and use some tape to hold it down and then run it through your die cutting machine. So you can see that when you put that red pattern paper on top of the Christmas tree paper, you'll be able to have a little Christmas tree scene in the back. And here I'm just taking a piece of white cardstock and cutting another hill out of that cardstock. Make sure that white cardstock is the same width as your Christmas tree paper. So mine is 4 inches wide. And I'm just positioning it there to see how far up I want that white snowy hill. And once I have it in place, I'll go ahead and put glue and add it to the Christmas tree paper. Next, I'll add glue to the back of the red pattern paper and add it to the top. Now you could also make this a shaker card since we cut a circle out of that red paper, and if you wanted to make it a shaker card, you would have to put acetate on the back of the red pattern paper before you adhere it to the Christmas tree paper. So with the acetate on the back side of it, you would then need to add foam instead of gluing it straight down. But I'm not going to make it a shaker card today. I'm just going to make it a regular card. I'm going to go ahead and add my little scene. So Santa is going to be inside of that little circle, and I'm going to put a present on each side of Santa. And for the sentiment, I'm using the die cut Christmas cheer. This was the word die that's included in the kit, and I just die cut it out of white cardstock. Next, I'm going to add this to a white A2 size card base. And then I'm going to add the star puffy stickers to my little scene, and I'm going to add 3 of them. And this is going to complete card 2. For my next card, I have the Christmas cheer pattern paper cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And the gray pattern paper is 4 1/8 by 1 7/8. And I'm just going to add that gray pattern paper to the bottom of the Christmas cheer paper. I also have the circle from the previous card that I cut out. I'm going to go ahead and use it on this card. And it's going to go at the top part of the card. I'm going to use the Santa Claus die cut, and it's going to look like he's peeking out behind the tree. So I'll be using the large Christmas tree as well. I'm just putting these die cuts down for placement so I know where to glue my Santa. So I'll go ahead and put glue on the back and then slide him behind that tree. I want to make sure he stays pretty much within that red circle. So I'll go ahead and glue him down, and then when I glue the tree down, I'm going to make sure that that tree is centered within the circle, so towards the top of the card. I'm also going to use the sentiment ho ho ho. I stamped it onto some white cardstock, but I'm trimming it apart so that each word is a separate word so that I can stagger the sentiment on the left side of the Christmas tree. I'm going to glue 3 presents under the tree, so the large one on the right and 2 smaller ones on the left, and then I have room at the bottom for a sentiment. So I stamped out Merry Christmas, and I'm going to just add some red ink around the edges, just because if I were to put the completely white sentiment on that light gray background, it kind of blends in. So another option would be to add the sentiment onto red cardstock and trim it down so it has a little bit of a red cardstock border, but I just thought it was easiest to add some red ink, and then I glued it to the bottom center of the card panel, and then I'll add that panel to a piece of the red cardstock, and the red cardstock is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and then I'll add that to the A2 size card base. And now this card is complete. Moving on to my next card, I have to use that red pickup truck from last month's club kit. So I'm using the red die cut shape from the paper pad, but if you don't have any more of these left, you can always take out your stamp if you belong to the Stamp or Die Hard Club, and you can stamp it out and color it up. So I went ahead and took the coordinating dies and die cut the window out of white cardstock, and I'm just adding some blue ink to the edges just to make it look a little bit more dimensional, and then I'm going to glue that window on to the truck. Next, I'm going to stamp out some sentiments, and the sentiment that I chose is Sending Christmas Cheer Your Way. This sentiment is from the HappySanta2Stamp stamp set from this month. So I'll stamp it in the back of the truck, and then I need to stamp something there in the license plate. So I'm grabbing a sentiment that has the word joy on it, And I'm going to have to mask off part of the sentiment because I don't want the wishing you part. I just want the word joy. So I'm going to use some washi tape and just mask off the words on the stamp that I don't want to ink up and just leaving the word joy visible. I'm going to take some black ink and ink up that stamp and then remove the washi tape. So that's important, is make sure you remove that washi tape before you stamp it down. So I'll go ahead and stamp that down. I end up coming back in and doing it again because I didn't feel like I got a great impression. So I am going to mask it off one more time and just repeat this procedure again. I did end up getting a little bit of black ink above the word joy. So I'm just taking a white gel pen and going over that black ink that shouldn't be there, and it actually looks like it was never there. Next, I'm going to take my craft knife and I'm just going to go over that line on the back of the truck to cut a slit in the back of the truck so that I can stick some presents in there. So now I'm going to use the sticker sheet. I'm using that Christmas tree sticker, and I'm just going to pop this Christmas tree into the bed of the pickup truck, and I'll just stick it down. Since it is sticky, I'll just stick it down onto the truck. And then the presents are just the die cut shapes that I die cut from the paper pad, and I'm going to arrange them so that there are 4 presents in the truck. And once I have them the way that I want them, I'll go ahead and glue them down. And look how cute that is. Oh my gosh, I love this truck so much. So now I'm going to put my card together. I have a piece of white cardstock I cut to 5 3/8 by 1 1/4, and I'm just cutting a hillside border, a little snowy border out of that white cardstock. That white cardstock is going to go at the bottom of this Christmas tree pattern paper, and I cut the tree paper to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to basically be creating a little scene here with the truck and Santa Claus. And my intention is to have it look like Santa has the pickup truck driving through the woods with all of those Christmas trees. So here I'm taking a piece of the green ribbon that came with the card kit, and I just tied it around the top portion of that panel. And then I'm going to tie it here in a knot. I'm not tying it in a bow, just a knot. And then I'm going to snip off both sides at a diagonal. The truck is going to be glued on top of that ribbon, so I want to make sure that ribbon is really secured to that card panel where the truck is going to be. So I tried some glue, that didn't work, so I'm just going to put some double-sided adhesive tape underneath the ribbon and then just press the ribbon down onto that adhesive tape. That will hold it down. So then I'm going to put glue on the back of the truck and then add it to the right side of that card panel. The Santa Claus is going to go to the left in the open area. And then I'm going to add this panel to a piece of red cardstock that I cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And I'll go ahead and add that panel to an A2 size card base. And then I'm going to finish this up by adding one of the red enamel dots to the center of the bow. And that will complete this card. I just love how this one turned out. I love that pickup truck. So for my next card, I want to do some coloring, and I'm going to use the stamp set that came with the card kit. So this is the Christmas tree that does not have the decorations on it. It's the smaller tree, and I just want to show you how I do my coloring. So I had 3 Copic markers. I am using Copic markers for this, and I'm using my darkest color first, and I'm just using this in a flicking motion, and I'm doing the flicks at the top of each section of that tree. So that color was the G17, and then I'm coming in with my next color, which is the YG17, and I am just going a little bit over the darker color and flicking a little bit further down into the white area in each one of those sections. Next, I'm going to come in with my lightest color, which is YG23, and I'm just going to flick and fill the rest of that white area in. So when I'm flicking that light color, I'm just coming up towards the top, so even coming over that darker color and flicking into the white area just to fill all of that in. And I think by adding the flicking motion on this Christmas tree, it does give it some depth. So using the three colors, you can actually see the shading, but the flicking, it actually adds some depth to the tree. I am going to come over this one more time with the G17. Again, starting from the beginning with that dark color. I think by adding 2 layers of color here, it really adds for some really nice rich color of these markers, and I love the way this turns out. So just adding some flicks there with the G17, and now I'm coming in with the YG23. This is my lightest color, and I'm just going a little bit over that dark color and then just flicking downward. So I actually skipped that middle color, and I'm just using the 2 colors, the dark and the light, the second go around. Now if you wanted to add that middle color in, by all means you definitely can do that. I just think by skipping that middle color this time around, you can really see the shading from dark to light. Here I'm adding a yellow star at the top using Y17 and Y15. And then for the tree bark at the bottom, I'm using the E25 and E35. I'm not going to color the circular part of that stand because I'm not going to need it on my card. I'm actually only going to be showing on my card the bark of the Christmas tree, and I'll be cutting off that little stand because I'm going to make a card where it looks like all of my trees are outside in a snowy field. So here I have the Santa Claus, and for my reds, my darkest color is the R59, and I'm just adding the darkest color where I think that the shadows would go. And then I'm going to come in over that dark color with my next color, which is the R27, followed by the R24 and R22. Now, I did pick out 4 red colors, thinking that I would have much more room to use all of them, not realizing when I started coloring that I did have a very small space to work with. So you really don't need 4 colors to color this Santa. You can probably get away with 2 or even 3 colors, but I did end up using 4 there nevertheless. So I'm going to use those same 4 colors on the jacket. So I started out with the darkest color, the R59, followed by the R27, R24, and then ending towards the center of that jacket with the very lightest color of the R22. And I will have all of these colors listed in my coordinating blog post, so if you didn't catch all of the colors as I'm working through this, you can head over to my blog at lisamirsdesigns.com and you can check out the markers that I've used over there. Okay, so here for the pants, again, a very small area to work with. I did use the R59, the R27, and then I skipped down to the R22. So only used 3 colors there. Again, you probably don't need all 3, but I really wanted to try to get some more light shading in there. Okay, so moving on, what am I working on here? Oh, this is the sleeve where his, looks like his elbow. So I'm coloring that up with a couple of the reds. I'm also going to color the sack green. So I'm basically going off of the coloring of the die cuts from the paper pad and trying to replicate the same color, but just doing it with the markers, just so you can see what that looks like when I color it with the Copics. Now, of course, you can color this image with any colors you want, but I was just using that paper pad with the die cut images as a guide. So here I'm coloring that dark G17 on the lines of the sack, and then I also go over that with the next color, which was the YG17 followed by YG23. So all of the same colors that I used in the tree in the previous image, I'm using here for Santa's sack. So I'll be using some grays and blacks for the boots and for Santa's gloves. I have C10 as my darkest color, so adding the C10 where the shadow would be. And I'll do that for both of those gloves. And then I'm going to come in with the C8 and just go over this C10, extend it a little further down. And then the lightest is the C7. And I'm just going to finish coloring up all of that white area. I'm going to do the same thing with Santa's boots. So using the C10 right at the top there, the top of the boot, and then coming in with the C8 followed by the C7. So for the parts of the image that are supposed to be white, I am adding a little bit of gray just to add some depth to those areas. You could leave them white and not color them at all, but I always like to add a little bit of gray when I'm coloring white. And I'm going to do the same thing with the beard. So the colors that I'm using here for the beard are the C3. Actually, I started with the C2 and then went to C0, but I realized that I wanted to add a little bit of a darker gray to the beard and to the mustache. So I will be coming in with a C3 color, which is a little bit darker than the C2, and I'll do that in just a moment. So here for the beard, I am doing a little bit of flicking motions just to add some texture to that hair and coloring up the beard as well as the mustache. So here's where I come in with the C3 just to make it a little bit darker. I probably could have gone even to C4 and did it even a little bit darker than that, but I left it as is. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of gray there on the bottom of the hat, adding the C2 in the corners, and also for the wrists, and adding the C0 to blend that in. And when I color that white, I don't come in all the way over all of that white. I do leave a lot of that white without coloring it and just color some of the edges with that gray color. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Okay, so here I'm coloring the face. I'm starting out with the E04 up above where the face meets the hat and right under the eyebrows. I'm going over that with the E11 and extending that down on the sides of the face. And then I'm going to come in with the E00 and fill in the rest. I'm going to do the same thing with the nose. Same three colors, E04, E11, and E00. And then I am going to come in with the R20 and add a little bit of cheek color and then blend that pink color in with the E00. And I did add the R20 to his mouth as well. So since this video is already long enough, I didn't want to make it any longer, so I kind of skipped over the coloring for the presents, but I do want to show you how you can add some interest to your presents. After they're colored, you can take a white gel pen, and here I'm just adding some polka dots, some diagonal lines, and that will just add some interest to your presents if you wanted to add just a little something extra. And you can do just about any design. Here on the green present, I'm just adding some swirls just to add something a little different other than polka dots or stripes. So now let's put this card together. I have a piece of the Blue Jay cardstock that I cut to 5 1/4 by 4, and I'm going to add some ink to the edges of it using some Distress Oxide inks. I have Salty Ocean that I'm adding to the edges, so I'm just going to add it to the top left and right edge, and then I'm going to come in with the Broken China and just come in more towards the center by blending the Salty Ocean and Broken China together. I don't need to ink up the bottom part because that's going to be covered up, so I can leave that without ink. So this is just a way of adding some depth to your colored cardstock. You can add some inks to it, and then I also took some Shimmer Spritz spray and sprayed that background with some of the spray and then picked it up with a paper towel, and it adds some shimmer and shine and texture to that cardstock. I took a piece of white cardstock cut to the same width as the blue cardstock, so it should be cut to 5 1/4 inches wide. And then I'm taking these border dies from Pretty Pink Posh. One has 3 little hills on it and one has kind of like one long hill. And I'm going to die cut this white cardstock using these border dies. And I love these border dies because they actually have some scallops on the edges, and they also have stitching along the edges, and they're so pretty. So I'm going to use these as the snowy border on my card, but before I add them to the card, I'm just adding a little bit of this light blue, it's a tumbled glass, distress oxide ink to the edges of that white cardstock. So I'm going to add the tall border first. So this border is probably about 2 1/4 inches tall. So that's going to go on first, and then I'm going to add the smaller border, and that smaller border is about almost 1.5, a little bit less than that. And I'm just going to layer those there at the bottom of that blue cardstock. So those are going to be my snowy hills, and you can see that beautiful scalloped edge with the stitching. It's so pretty. So I'm going to add my trees to the scene, but before I do, I did snip off a little bit of the bottom part of that tree because I want the tree to be able to come in front of the snow. So I'm just cutting it so that I can put those tree branches in front of the snow so they're layered in front. I didn't want them hiding in the back. So I'm just positioning everything where I want it. I'm going to put 2 trees on the left. My Santa is going to go in the middle, and I'm going to have another tree on the right. But when I add these trees, you're not going to be able to see that tree stand. I'm actually going to be putting them further down into the snow so you can't see it. But for right now, I'm just positioning everything where I want them, especially with that stamp, because I need to make sure that I have room for the stamp. The stamp that I'm using is the 'Tis the Season stamp, which is a pretty large stamp, and it's the stamp that comes with the card kit. It's part of this Christmas tree set. So I'm going to put this card layer in my Misti and hold it down with my magnets. I will be removing all of these die cuts, but I will be keeping the stamp in place. And I'm going to stamp this down with some black ink. I'm going to stamp it a couple times to make sure I get a really good impression. And then once I stamp that out, I will go ahead and reposition all of my die cuts and glue them down to my card. I'm also going to be adding the Christmas presents. I'll add those next to Santa. And then I'm going to come in with my white gel pen, and I'm going to add some white dots to my Christmas trees. It'll make it look like they have snow in the trees. Next, I'm going to add that to a piece of the red pattern paper, and if you wanted to use red cardstock, you can. I cut the pattern paper to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and then I'll add that to an A2 size card base. So I would love for you to leave me a comment and let me know which card is your favorite for this month. And if you're not already a club member but are interested in joining a club, I would love for you to use my affiliate link in the description box of this video or on my blog, as using my link does help support me. And if you get inspiration using my card designs and post your cards on social media, I would love for you to tag me at Lisa Mears Designs so that I can see what you create. As always, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this and are not already a subscriber to my channel, make sure you click that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.